Good day guys, Mark here again and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, you love cars, DIYs and anything car related, please consider subscribing and check out my playlist. Alright guys, so for today's video, this is not for first time DIYers or amateur DIYers. This is for people that has a basic idea how the engine works and specifically or basically knows what they are doing. If you're a newbie, I do not recommend for you guys doing this DIY because you might mess up your engine or worse, total your engine. Okay. On today's video, guys, I'm going to show you on how you will be able to replace your timing belt and your tensioner bearing for your Hyundai Eon. Um, So for this DIY, you just need some basic stuff, jack stand, at least two jacks, hydraulic jacks, some breaker bars, ratchet, and some socket wrench, and of course the parts that you will be needing.
A few moments later.
Alright guys, so first thing that you'll need to do is, aside from you preparing your tools and parts, you'll need to remove the air filter assembly and remove the cover. So in order for you to remove this cover, you'll need to remove two 10mm bolts like this, and then two 10mm bolt at the bottom like this. So I already removed three, just in the process of removing the last bolt. Let me just check if okay, ratchet can't reach it. Okay, so the reason why we'll need to remove the cover is for us to see the timing marks on your engine, which is pretty crucial each time you do something on the engine internally, especially when you're adjusting the tappets, if you'll be replacing the camshaft, or basically if you dismantle the engine. So that's bolt number four rather, and we should be able to remove the cover. Okay, so it's still clean. So what's the age of the my Eon? It's 6 years old with 77,000 kilometers. I will be replacing this around or ideally you should replace this around 80 to between 80 to 100,000 kilometers. So I opted to replace it earlier because what do you call this, my Eon is already 6 years old. Okay. So next thing to do would be, so jack up your car and remove the tire on the passenger side. So we'll need to remove that cover, that one, but since I'm already working on the engine bay, so we'll be removing the pulley for the water pump. Okay, so this one, and then we'll need to completely loosen the tensioner for the alternator belt and the air compressor or the AC compressor belt, which would be that one. Alright guys, so now we will be setting the timing on your engine. So in order for you to set the timing, which will basically mean that your engine is on the top dead center, or the TDC state. So top dead center means that the piston is on the highest part of the engine block. So there are timing marks present on the cylinder head, which would be this one, and that one needs to meet the timing mark on your camshaft pulley with that one. So when turning the pulley, please don't use this bolt, because that will basically stress out your timing belt and might break during the process. So you'll need to access the crankshaft pulley, which would be at the bottom, to turn the pulley. Okay, let me just get that ratchet right here. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it. Watch the pulley, guys. Okay, so that's top dead center, guys. You see that this line, okay, meets the arrow, so make sure that they are aligned. Alright, so at this point, guys, we'll just be removing the pulley, and then the belts, and the crankshaft pulley, and there should be a cover for us to be able to access the timing belt. So for you to remove the water pump pulley, you'll need to remove 4 size 10 millimeter bolts. So I used the camshaft bolt as a counter force for us to be able to remove those bolts. So, okay.
Eventually.
Alright, guys, so the water pump pulley has been removed, the belt for the alternator has been removed, but we'll need to remove the crankshaft pulley first, and I have yet to remove the alternator belt. So let's loosen the tension first. Let's see, I just place you guys on a angle where you can see everything. Okay, let's switch on the flash. Alright, so right now basically accessing the belt tensioner for the AC compressor belt. So we'll need to remove that. Let me see if I can access it at the bottom. Much easier. Much easier. In here. Okay. Hi guys. So this one you need to loosen. So it's hard to see. There we go. Okay. It worked. So we don't need to completely remove the bolt, guys. We just need to loosen it enough for the tensioner to move the compressor and for us to basically be able to pull out the belt. So. Okay, so at this point, guys, we just need to adjust the bolt for the tensioner. Let me see if I can pull out the belt already. Not yet. Alright, so at this point, all we need to do is basically remove the crankshaft pulley, and that will be done at the bottom. Alright guys, so we'll be removing the bolt that holds the crankshaft pulley in place.
Eventually.
Alright, so I've already removed the 19mm bolt from the crankshaft pulley. This is what I did to be able to counter the force of the bolt. Okay, so now I'll just remove the pulley, the cover, and replace everything. Okay guys, so at this point I'll just be removing the pulley first before putting a jack on the engine itself for me to be able to access the what do you call this, the tensioners and the belt. So this one, you just need to gently pull it out. Alright, and then you'll need to remove the cover. That's I do believe a size 10. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Let's remove the extension. Let's see. My clearance. Thank you. So we have no choice. Here we go. So slowly but surely, guys. So it's much easier to access the bowl here at the top. Just using my hand. Almost there. There you go. That's the last bolt, guys. So bolt number 3, and we should be able to pull out the cover. Alright. Okay, so make sure to put back the gasket, guys. Okay, so the pulley is out. I'm about to put a jack on the oil pan to remove the engine support for me to be able to remove the timing belt. So that's another timing mark, guys. See that? So that means we're on the top dead center. So I'm just gonna clean everything, guys, right before replacing the parts. I don't have any degreaser, so I might just use a some good old DWD-40. Okay. Alright, guys, so I'm just about to remove the tensioner bearing. Um, it's being held up by a size 17 millimeter bolt. Let's go ahead and remove it. I'm just gonna use my breaker bar, guys. I don't wanna break my wrench. Alright, that's easy. There we go. Right, so that's our tensioner bearing. This one. And this is our timing belt. Okay. So the reason why we'll need to remove the engine support is because we won't be able to remove the belt itself. Okay, so I'm just gonna clean everything out, and we'll jack up the car, or rather the engine, and replace everything. But for now, I'm just gonna clean everything with some WD-40. So you just want to make sure that everything is free from dust, because that's the number one enemy of your engine. Okay, so time to jack up the oil pan, guys, and we'll replace all the parts. Alright guys, so I already removed the bolts and nuts. I used some extension bar. So at this point, I'm just gonna remove the engine support, and we'll be replacing the parts.
A few moments later.
Alright, so transmission support is out, or rather the engine support. So this is the timing belt. So now it's time to replace it with a new one. Alright, so at this point, just basically replacing the belt. So this is our old timing belt. This one. And this would be our new belt. Okay, so that's in. And now the tensioner bearing. just lie down here and align the tensioner in place. Make sure you take note of the timing marks, guys, because we don't want that moving while you're working on the engine. Let me just place the belt. So now let's do the tensioner, guys, the bearing. So there's a alright, so tensioner bearing has been installed. We're about to install the timing belt. Okay, there we go. So I needed to loosen the tensioner bearing a bit. And let's go up and check our timing marks.
One eternity later.
Alright, timing marks are good. Now we'll just need to tighten our bearing. So for this one, you'll need to use your breaker bar. Okay, that's the new belt and the tensioner bearing. So you'll need to check the tension, guys. Okay. All right, so new tensioner is in, new belt is in. Just testing for tension. Okay, that's good. So the purpose of the tensioner bearing, guys, is just to prevent the belt from skipping teeth, making sure that the crankshaft and the camshaft is on the same timing. So I'm just gonna return everything, guys, and do a video after I basically returned everything, and point to you the things that we've done so far, and of course start the engine. Okay.
A few moments later. One eternity later.
Alright guys, so I'm actually just finishing up everything. I'm now returning the top cover for the timing belt. Already done installing the pulley and then the belts, the AC and the alternator belts, the water pump pulley. What else? I already adjusted the tension for the belts. I might readjust later on once I am able to warm up the engine. So right now we'll just be what do you call this, returning the top cover for the timing belt. Let me just lubricate the bolts real quick. So if you do have an anti-seize grease, that would be nice. So the next time you do this, it would be much easier for you to remove these bolts. So I'm just returning bolt number 1 at the bottom. Okay, and then bolt number 2. Almost done. We're almost done. And also the engine support, I've already installed it. Okay, and actually 2 more bolts, and we should be able to give this a go. But I might as well install everything so I can place the engine on idle and warm up the engine properly. So again, this is not for newbies, guys. Please, if you're a first time or a newbie when it comes to doing DIYs, this is not recommended. And even if you know what you're doing, if you don't have the tools, please don't do this. So for this DIY, you need to have the tools and of course the skills do this. So I didn't wear my safety gloves because I'm working with the camera, but if you already know what you're going to do, please wear your safety gloves at all times. Okay, that's tight. Two more bolts. So the what do you call this? The belt that I've used is actually an original timing belt. Um, I purchased it around, I think I purchased that a couple of months ago. I forgot, about 3,800 bucks for that one. But you can use the replacement ones, and just make sure that you replace them on time. Okay, so when do you replace the timing belt? So again, it's between 80 to 100,000 kilometers, or 5 years, whichever comes first. um, Basically, I'm done. I just need to return the cover and then the airbox assembly, and we should be able to crank up the engine. So I'm just gonna uh, put the cover at the bottom, the airbox, and uh, we'll do our testing. Okay. Alright guys, so this is what an original timing belt looks like at 6 years and 77k kilometers. So you can see that there are already visible cracks on the belt itself. And also you might want to check the thread on the side if there are any visible cracks. So good thing that I am able to replace it on time, so because I don't think that this belt would last that much. Okay, so just a reminder. Alright guys, so I just finished installing the tensioner bearing, the timing belt. I actually forgot to shoot the video when I pulled out the oil seal, the crankshaft and the camshaft oil seal. You'll need to pull out the pulley for the camshaft. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record that part. Forgot to press the record button. Anyway, so parts had been replaced. So one thing to do now is start the engine. So this is the first time that we'll be starting the engine after replacing the parts. I wanted to warm up the engine and check the tension of the belts as well. So let's fire her up. Perfect. So I don't hear any squeaking noise. Let's switch on the AC. No squeaking noise as well. Alright, so I'm just gonna warm up the engine and listen for belt noise, but I will consider this a successful DIY. Again guys, I won't get tired of saying this. This DIY is not for newbies, not for first timers, not for second timers. You really need to know what you are doing. You need to have the tools. You need to have the right skills. Otherwise, you'll mess up your engine and cost you a lot of money. All right. So again, this is Mark. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hope to see you guys on our next video.